Okay, so for today's deep dive, we're going to strip down the whole concept of a modern workstation. We've been digging into the specs for the AdderLink Infinity ALIF2020T-US. Now, on paper, it's a high-performance IP KVM transmitter,
Right.
but really it feels like it's trying to solve a physics problem. How do you separate a person from their computer by over 6 miles and make it so they just don't feel that distance at all?
That is the mission, exactly. And feeling the distance is, well, it's the key metric, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're all used to remote desktop software where you just accept a bit of lag,
Right.
a few compression artifacts. This device, it claims to get rid of that compromise completely.
Right, which brings us to their pixel-perfect claim. That's what really stood out to me. Usually when you extend video over IP, there's always compression.
Always. To save bandwidth. And you get color banding, maybe fuzzy text.
Unacceptable if you're, say, a radiologist looking at an X-ray.
Or a colorist grading a film. Exactly. The ALIF2020T is pushing uncompressed digital video, DBID specifically.
And the resolution stats, they hold up.
They do. We're talking 1920 by 1200 at 60 Hertz, 24-bit color. And because it's using one-to-one pixel mapping, what your GPU outputs is precisely what you see.
There's no interpretation.
None. And it uses EDD management.
Ah, the ham check protocol.
Yep. So the transmitter reads the exact specs of your monitor and basically forces the computer to output that exact signal. The PC has no idea it's talking to a network device. It thinks it's plugged right into the screen.
Okay, speaking of being plugged in, let's talk USB. This is where so many KVMs just fall apart. They're fine with a basic mouse and keyboard, but
you plug in something a bit more proprietary and they just choke.
yeah.
So what's different here?
Most extenders use generic emulation. They just tell the PC, hi, I'm a mouse. This thing uses true emulation with USB 2.0. It supports the actual specific data flow from the device.
So we're talking about really complex stuff, graphics tablets, 3D explorers for CAD work, joysticks. Precisely. It gives that remote user their full specialized toolset, and that's on top of digital stereo audio and even RS-232 control signals. It's a total replication of the desktop.
So how is all this data traveling? You mentioned 6 miles, that's 10 kilometers, which is
Yeah.
a long way. This is all running over standard IP architecture.
It is. It's totally network agnostic.
Yeah.
You can run it on a popper or fiber, although for that 10K range, you're obviously going to be using SFP fiber modules.
And it's not just a point A to point B extension. The infinity part of the name sort of implies a bigger structure.
Right. You can just use it point to point, one transmitter to one receiver. But if you add their AdderLink Infinity Manager, the AIM software, it becomes this huge scalable matrix.
So any user could switch to any computer on the network.
Instantly. But that does introduce a single point of failure, right? If the network goes down,
Your whole workflow dies.
well, they seem to have thought of that. The unit has port redundancy, 2 network ports. If the primary link drops, someone unplugs a cable, a switch fails, it just fails over to the second port automatically.
That's critical for, an air traffic control tower or broadcast studio.
Absolutely.
But looking at the practical side of this, there's one massive detail in the name people need to catch.
The T.
The T. This is the ALIF2020T.
It stands for transmitter. It's completely useless on its own. You have to have the matching receiver unit, the ALIF2020R, on the other end to actually decode the signal.
And that brings us to the investment. This is clearly enterprise gear. You're looking at what, around $1,600, $1,700 per unit?
It's a serious investment, but the trade-off is what they call zero config. You don't install any drivers. It's totally OS agnostic. You just plug it in, and the hardware handles everything.
So the value is really about total environment control. You take the noisy, hot, physically vulnerable computer, you lock it away somewhere secure and climate-controlled, and the user is left in, well, peace and quiet.
It completely decouples the computer from the computing experience. Total hardware isolation, zero performance penalty.
It creates a ghost machine, really. The user interacts with something that isn't physically there. Which I think leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. If we can effectively push the physical machine 6 miles away with zero loss of quality, does the whole concept of a workstation even need to be tied to an office anymore? Are we just looking at the end of the desktop PC as we know it?